Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. The weekend is here. Late October, NBA season's underway, college basketball around the corner, Breeders' Cup coming up, and we were 12-3 last week. I mean, come on. People, things are going great. Hopefully you got signed up and took advantage of a great week, which we said was coming. Let me quickly bring in my co-host from Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to get you some free winners this week. Last week, that free winners actually did really, really well. I gave a lot of NFL insight, Brandon, from Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Brandon Rush. Brandon gave a lot of insight last week on the show as to which of those road favorites will continue that trend from the week before. And actually, the ones that I said both hit easily with Cincinnati and who was the other one? They played the Giants.
The Eagles.
The Eagles and Cincinnati both continue that road favorite streak. We went 12-3 last week. How are you, buddy? How's Louisville doing?
I mean, it was a great weekend. I mean, on top of like you said, a 12-3 weekend in football, we had the MMA that went out with another winner. Soccer was another good week, and then baseball World Series going this week. I mean, how can you not be romantic about this time of year?
Yeah, we built profit last weekend basis. Well, that's free, and yeah, NBA starts up is going right now. College basketball around the corner. Breeders' Cup coming. So the bottom line, as Brandon alluded to, it's not just the football.
Mm-hmm.
Which was 12-3. We didn't lose all week. I mean, we literally had. And by the way, we're making a habit of that. I don't want to have to. By the way, thanks Mathis Brothers for the chair that breaks literally every other show or not. My chair breaks, and I think of them personally every time. It's not just that we had 1 week where we won Monday, won Wednesday, won Thursday, won Friday. That's happening pretty much every week. We've had one losing Monday night. I think we've had one, maybe two losing Thursday nights. We're into the latter part of October, Brandon. I mean, it's not like we're the second week of September, and I'm bragging about undefeated start to Monday nights. I mean, we are literally, and some of them had side and total. The last couple have had either Monday or Thursday had side and total. Those are all winning. So building profit before we get to the weekend. 11-5 2 weeks ago, 12-3 last week. That is called an upward trend. And the only people I feel bad for, I guess I feel bad for the guy that wished an aneurysm on me and literally, I guess.
That guy has to be living in hell right now because, yeah, ever since he sent that very terse email at 9:06 a.m. on a Sunday on the Sabbath, as you pointed out, we've done nothing but win. So that guy now is either just toiling off on his own, unaware of the winning that has been taking place since he fired off an email wishing an aneurysm upon you, or he's winning and is really eating crow.
And it's not like I went 2-12 that week. I think I lost one game more than I won the week that it was the aneurysm. I feel a little bit bad for him. I feel a little bit bad for the guys that, for whatever reason, there's just Brandon. There's just people that are just losing gamblers. They can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, there's about 500 of them that I'm looking at you guys right now. We had about 1,000 people that signed up for the $32 2x2. I basically said. The football went 3-1 in that. We talked about it last week, but I did a special. And I said, guys, don't miss this week. That week, we went 11-5. So they didn't get all the picks because they only got a small number, but the football plays were 3-1 of the 4 that I gave out. We did nothing but win after that. That package went over.
I was going to say, so roughly half of that group that signed up for that 2x2 special reinvested and signed up and got a winning week, but it's the other half that you're like, hey, what did we not do? What did we not show you that this is a winning proposition going forward that you need to be a part of?
And they just missed a week I can't get back.
No.
You know, the good news is we're starting to run them together right now at a big clip. I mean,
sure, but 12-3s don't grow on trees now.
They don't, and no losers do it. We're 5-1 on Saturday. I went 5-1 on Saturday. I mean, really good Saturday. Everything won last week. So, yeah, those don't grow on trees, and you don't want to miss those because there's only so many weeks of the football season. Good news is basketball's here. We generally do really well in basketball as well. There is more volatility in the hoops, but upward swings. It's not unusual for us to have a 22-2 run in basketball. Now, we'll also run off a 7-12 or 7-13. So we'll run 5 or 6 games the wrong way. Football, we don't do that. I tell people, compared to the stock market. So the stock market, generally speaking, goes up and up and up. We'll have big swings like we just had where we're 11-5. What's that? 11-5, 12-3 is 23-8.
Yep.
11-5, 12-3, 23-8 over the last 2 weeks. So up. But we're going to, generally speaking, not have any big dips. Basketball will have some more dips, more correction with dribble offs and free throws and just tight games. But we'll have very few 24-1 runs in football. I mean, we might. I mean, we're dialed in right now. So, but in basketball, we'll have those. We'll have 3 or 4 of those during the course of the year. So the key is don't miss. Don't miss out. If you sign up for the $32 special, and then what'd you do? Did you not bet last week? Because if you didn't bet last week, great. That's fine. Don't bet. But if you lost 1 penny, well, I do know that at $50 a game, you did not win $500 or $600, and that's just with the football, not counting the bases, not counting the players' prop, not counting the other stuff. So go to FatJackSports.com, get signed up for consistent winners. This weekend, $99. All right.
So if you missed the 2x2x2x2 $32, a little bit steeper price than that, again, ridiculous price that you offered a couple weeks ago, but at least another opportunity for maybe that other half of the group who didn't sign up, or anyone else out there who has been waiting to dip their toe in. Solid time.
If you can't afford $99, don't gamble.
No.
I mean, honestly, it's that. And I'm gonna give you the NBA for free. So you're gonna pay for football through Monday. You're getting all the plays. This is not a 2x2 or 5x whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the plays for the weekend. $99. I offer this. This is more. I offer this once a month, maybe once every month and a half. Yeah. And it's for those guys, the guys that for whatever reason miss out. Other than Aneurysm Boy, maybe somebody that signed up in September that now wants to get back in because he didn't win as much as he thought he should. Mm-hmm. You can get it for $99 or save money. Go longer term every week is $99 or less. That's football and basketball. So FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today and start winning. All right. I'm going to wait. Speaking of aneurysms, I had to put my cat down today.
Oh, man.
And the problem is, Brandon, this is the cat that was my kid's cat. This is
okay.
It was Bob. He's 14. And he just basically had he had a blood clot or something in his spine, and the back half of his body quit working.
Oh,
so he's dragging his back legs around looking like somebody from Something About Mary. I'm trying to get him to the freaking litter box. My wife is distraught. I haven't even told my kids yet. Luckily, they are not huge fans of the show.
That would be a hell of a way to find out your cat died.
My daughter might, by the way. She is not. She may burn the house down if she does. She's not happy. She's not going to be happy. She still thinks my dad is on vacation. All right, my dad passed away about 7 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
And if you ask her, she'll tell you he was 69 and he would be 74 right now. So 5 years ago. My daughter, if you ask her, where's Papa? Well, he's on vacation. He's in Bermuda. I mean, he's not. He passed away. But the cat, I don't even want to tell her. So dealing with that a little bit, certainly softened by the fact we went 12-3 last week. What jumped out real quickly last week, because I listened to the show last Sunday,
mm-hmm.
and we spent a lot of time on the week prior.
Right.
And what we were talking about, I was saying things like, who has Texas played? And I thought Georgia was going to beat him, and I broke all that down. Talked about Alabama and Tennessee. That's fine. I'm right more times than I'm wrong. But on Sunday, looking back, you're not only talking about past information. A lot of times those teams have played again. And so, like I was talking about the game prior to, the Texas game, we were talking about who the teams before played. They had all played again in another game. So it's really, really out-of-date information if you listen on Sunday. Most of you are getting this Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so it's at least a little relevant. But what jumped out last week, I do want to jump to this week real quick because I could spend the whole show on 12-3. And I will recap that. We had Buffalo winner on Monday, a week ago Monday. We had over in Denver on Thursday. We had Duke on Friday. We went 5-1 on Saturday, 2-2 on Sunday. Selections went 1-1, opinions went 1-1. Everything won 12-3 last week. So there you go. That's a recap of last week. What jumped out specifically to you, Brandon?
The Packers beating Houston. I mean, Houston is I think a very solid team. We saw what they were a year ago. They've been able to establish the fact that they are probably, in my estimation, getting overlooked by a lot of the general public and possibly by the NFL media, because every time you hear about the elite teams, the NFC, they immediately jump to Detroit. They immediately jump to the Eagles and the 49ers, even though they have a losing record right now. They're still a good football team. They put together a heck of a game plan, and really the whole NFC North. Vikings Lions was an absolute barn burner and a very entertaining game. Washington's really good. The NFC probably it has 5 legit teams that could win the Super Bowl right now. And you look at the AFC, it's who? The Chiefs, the Bills, and who else?
Power rankings are a funny thing.
Hmm.
because you only can, and we looked at this in college too, but you only are able to measure up against who you've played. But if I had to ask you, right, by the way, the NFC North is still incredibly good, hitting 78% against the number, and that's, a couple of them, as you mentioned, played each other last week. So, um, but yeah, they're very, very good. But where, Brandon, we cut through all of that, all of the mid-season information on, and we're basically doing the show backwards today. We are going to talk a lot of college, but let's start with the NFL. So, who's going to play in the Super Bowl? That's what I'm looking for, because we're always going to have these teams in college and the NFL, and I put Texas in that last week, and we put Ohio. I put Ohio State in that the week before. That up to that point, they look really, really good based on who they played and what they've done, and then we kind of see where they probably are. I will tell you right now, the top 25 ranking in college has a bunch of Big Ten teams at the front, at the top. Other than I mean, the top four in college, I think three are in the Big Ten. Penn State's up there. Oregon's up there. I mean, that's not going to be the case in a month. I mean, the SEC will cannibalize themselves, but so will the Big Ten when they play each
Yep.
other a little more. So in the NFL, we're talking about these teams that have a shot. Who who is it, Brandon? Who's gonna play first of all? And then if you had a power rank, say 4 teams just in any conference, where are we?
I mean, the Chiefs probably still won. They're the last undefeated team, and even though they don't have, I think they have mid-level talent at every skill position, with the exception of quarterback and tight end. It's pretty amazing to say that. Two, maybe the Lions, maybe Washington, which feels weird to say. Minnesota. So it's kind of like that Big Ten. The Big Ten's that has a couple teams towards the top in college football. The NFC North, Big Ten country, kind of has a big run on maybe the power rankings of the NFL. I still can't sleep on the Bills, even though they're putting together a very nice season. All they do is go out and are competitive in almost every game. And then maybe we get to Tampa, Seattle. I mean, outside of those top 7 or 8, I don't know that there's that many that could be in the Super Bowl.
I mean, you didn't mention San Francisco.
I mean, they're 3-4, and they got a ton of injuries.
Yeah, and I think that just actually proves my point that we're talking about the number one team being the undefeated team that we know is very limited from an offensive perspective. Again, we've said this for a month. They're not getting enough credit defensively for what they're doing, because that's
Yep.
really why they're winning most of these games. But do we honestly think that unless they get a little more balanced, at least, and that's nothing to do with the lack of weapons that they have at receiver, but if they do, that this is a team that can win it all. I mean, it's hard to say. You look at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on the jersey, and you're like, well, yeah, of course they can, because they have.
It's hard to count out a back-to-back Super Bowl champion. Yeah,
It is, but I think it proves my point. That top, you could throw up to 8 or 9 teams in there. You talked about Buffalo. Listeners of the show got Buffalo through me right here to win it all at a long, long number
in August. And as much as I despise Bills Mafia, I bought that ticket.
Oh, I hate them too. I hate them too. But you know what? That money spends exactly the same. They don't have to win it all. They just need a high seed going into the playoffs. Our win totals, Brandon, looking really, really good as well.
I like money more than I hate people, so I can deal with that. Yeah.
Exactly. We'll have to tolerate them for 2.5 hours at the Super Bowl, but by then we will have hedged out of that game if I like the other side, or we're going to become one of them at least for 2.5 hours. We gave them out 15-1 preseason to win it all. Also gave out Dallas. How's that ticket looking? Pretty good.
Not as good right now, but hey.
Similar to the college.
If 15-1 comes through, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's similar to college. I gave Clemson to win the national title at 60-1, and said at the time, I don't need them to win the title. I just need them to be in the playoff. They still have a shot. I think I'm going to bet a big bet. I bet a big bet on Georgia against Texas. One of my bigger bets of the year in a long, long time. And I everything I said about that game came true. I mean, the Texas defense had not been tested. The 2 best offenses they played were not in the top 70 in the country.
Yep.
And so that defense was going to give up some points. And then how did they respond when they were putting predictable down and distances, where they were going to have to drop back to pass? They go to the backup quarterback. There's a whole thing that went in there. So not surprising at all. When Clemson plays Miami of Florida, I'm doing the same exact thing. People have forgotten about this Miami team and the fact that they should have at least a couple losses right now. And So if they keep rolling along, um, if and when they play, I'm going to bet a lot on Clemson in that game.
I like it, and with Miami's defensive flaws, because I mean Louisville put up almost 50 points on them on Saturday. So yeah, they're a team that's ripe for the picking. Even though they have a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback, they have marked flaws in the defensive backs.
The easiest of our 5-1 was over the total in the Clemson or in the
it,
Miami Florida Louisville game.
it was over with 7 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah, so when we play the overs, that's what you want. I mean, you want the games that are super super easy and don't take long to get there. Unders have been really, you hate giving away unders, but sometimes the value is just there. I just look back. Clemson is not going to play Miami of Florida.
At least until the ACC championship game.
They will, which will be great. That'd be even better because I would like them not to play twice. They probably would have played twice. And that way they're going to play. And that will be, I'll just tell you right now, that will be a release. And I may get a look ahead line here before too long and bet it too, because I'm not sure Miami can hold it together the entire way to get to that game. So FatJackSports.com, $99 this weekend. Everything football through Monday. Add the players props for about $100. Add UFC. They've won 3 weeks in a row. Easy run in the UFC with lots and lots of profit. Soccer's still have a great year. They broke even last weekend, but over the year they're having an incredible run, up about 20 games this spring, or 15 games this spring, or fall, sorry, and made over 20 games this summer. So don't cost a lot of money to add that, and they'll add profit to your bottom line. So, all right, we turn to this week, Brandon. What do you like this week? What are we looking at? I mean, we didn't really wrap up, put a bow on the NFL stuff, but I guess the point is that there's going to be some regression out of some of these teams. We're giving a lot of credit to the actual winner when a lot of these games were very, very close. We talk about Minnesota, Detroit. If they played 10 times, I mean, you might get a different winner, five of them. So we had a scoop and score out of Minnesota. Then Detroit comes back. They're running fake punts early in the game. You know, if they don't do stuff like that, they probably win by more. I mean, as silly as that is. Now, if it works, great, but, you know, it doesn't always work. And I would hope that Detroit's coach would tighten up a little bit on some of that stuff as we got deeper and got toward the playoffs. Otherwise, they'll be making an early exit, in my opinion. Again, I don't think they're good enough to overcome 3 bad decisions in the game against a team that's a like opponent. So
yeah, I mean, recklessness can win you games, but it can lose you a heck of a lot more.
And nobody cares right now. You know, he runs a fake punt there. We saw this the playoffs last year. He going for it when he going for 2 when he shouldn't, and kicking it when he should. Never kicking a field goal. I mean, just doing things that are uber aggressive, which is fine when you get there, when you win. But when you play tougher teams, unless you're so much better than everybody else, which in the NFL it's never the case, it ends up costing you. You end up being home early, being home before February. So to be determined, because I do suspect that he's going to tighten up a little bit. We look at this week's games. Let's start in college, Brandon. We take a break. We okay? We're going.
We're good. We're good.
All right. So let's look at college. What stands out this week? I do want to circle back to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and all that, but I don't want to lead in. We've had enough. I already had to put my cat down in segment 1. We're not going to have to talk about the Sooners or the Cowboys in segment 1. So, R.I.P. Bob. Good cat. Bob Ross, by the way, was his name. Named him that and did not name him that. No, remembering that the artist was named Bob Ross.
I have an art Bob Ross toy somewhere. It's pretty good. It's a little plastic thing, and you push it, a little thing on its head, and it raises his arms and says, "You are amazing."
Well, Bob was amazing too. So
good cat.
Good baby. So.
This weekend, Boise at UNLV on Friday night. That's a fun one. Of course, if you're listening to this on the weekend, you're going to go back and go, yeah, that was a fun one.
That was fun.
Notre Dame Navy. We touched on it for a split second last week. There's a distinct possibility that Army and Navy can be undefeated going into the conference championship game against each other the week before they play Army Navy. This is probably one of the last big tests that each of those schools have is Notre Dame, and the fact that it's in not in South Bend, it's in New Jersey at the Meadowlands. That's going to be a fun early game. Indiana's undefeated. They get game day in town. They're going to be fired up for that. Missouri, Alabama. I mean, a playoff eliminator. Alabama right now, the same record as Colorado, which is either disastrous for Alabama or really good for Colorado. Kind of a little bit of both. What does Texas do coming after getting their tails whipped at home, going to Vanderbilt? That's going to be an intriguing game. And then LSU A&M. Though that's the marquee games for a lot of people this weekend.
And those are a lot of those games are not ones that if you're not a real college football fan, you're not going to look at a lot of those and love them.
Mm-hmm.
It's that second layer storyline on almost all of them. I mean, the UNLV, we'll throw that one out because there's not a little second tier. Although Boise is a 3-point favorite on the road, and both these teams only have one loss, so I thought that was a little bit odd. That you do have the 17th ranked team going on the road, but UNLV's been really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about Notre Dame and Navy. It's one of those that probably after this week we don't care as much about Navy. They're great.
Sure.
It's been a great story, but they're double-digit underdogs in the game. Notre Dame's 11.5-point favorite. Notre Dame is not Georgia. They're not Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that just the one-dimensional offense is a great story. They've been winning and covering, and the Armed Forces and all those guys are great kids, but that's not a spot that this is not going to be a good spot for them, I don't think. So I'm not saying they're not going to cover, but they definitely have trouble winning, I would say. And yeah, when you go a little bit deeper in the card, a lot of these, the average guy wouldn't have any idea what to do with it. I mean, it's just, but yeah, a lot of storylines. Missouri, Alabama 13.5-point favorite. We said this last year about this time. How does this team get, after they lost to Texas last year, I was like, okay, well, I would at least internally was thinking that they're done.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not done. They come back, they end up playing late, playing for it all. And I feel like they're done again, right? I mean, so many things are going to have to fall for them to get in, I guess, with their record. But, then you have the matchups that they make it into the championship. Even if they lose that, how does that go? So they lose. Let's say they make it in the championship game and they lose that. Do we take another team, how many lost Ole Miss have? One?
They have one right now, yes.
Tennessee has one, right? Tennessee only lost to Arkansas. That's it. Georgia, obviously. There's so many teams that you're going to have to overlook if they win out and don't play in the championship game or win most. You see what I'm saying? There's going to be a team or two. There's going to be a conversation. Now, if Alabama wins out, Alabama wins out, then you're like, okay, well, they're in. But if they don't, it's not only eliminator here. I think that if Alabama gets in this playoff, that just shows how much the name on the front of the jersey is, unless they get super hot going forward. This is a team that looked like they were just simply outplayed by Tennessee.
Yeah.
It went back and forth. Like I said, lead early. Alabama was our only loss, by the way. We didn't talk about loss, I guess, because they didn't have many. Only had 3 last week. But Alabama was the loss. I was 5-1 on Saturday. The loss is Alabama. So I watched the game, obviously, and they were, they were up 7-0 early. But even at that point, I was never like, this team's going to win. They were not doing anything offensively, and it looked like a typical Big Ten battle. It's just somebody's going to make a mistake. The home field definitely mattered. Quarterback was was rattled, and so it wasn't surprising at all. Missouri, everybody's lost all of the pizzazz with them. That early in the year they were great and doing things. They only have one loss, so they really control their own destiny also. So you're right. This is kind of an eliminator game. Who you like in that one?
I mean, you touched on how Alabama, like every year, they're hanging around. They're like a horror movie villain. Like they just keep finding ways. Just when you think they're dead, they keep coming back and winning. By the way, that only Missouri loss, that route at A&M, starting to look pretty good. A&M's only lost one game, so yeah. I mean, what do we feel about Missouri? That said, I think the Missouri's coach really turns a lot of people off. But the good news is, public perception of coaches doesn't win or lose ball games. The fact that they only beat Auburn by 4, really not all that excited about. They've got a big couple tests coming up. The fact that if this game was in Columbia, I would probably like Missouri a lot more in this game. But for some reason, Bama in Tuscaloosa just finds ways to win football games, and it's hard for me to overlook that.
Well, they're double-digit favorite there. Yeah. I mean, the more interesting one in these eliminator spots is A&M and LSU for sure. Mm-hmm. You have 2 teams in the top 15. A&M a 3-point favorite at home, which is basically what you give to a team when they're playing at home. LSU's got some flaws on defense. They're getting better offensively. And A&M a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we would have said, yeah, they're going to definitely, lose 2 or 3 more games. As you put, they've tied the boat. Another kind of interesting one is this Penn State-Wisconsin game. Penn State only a number 3 team in the country, only a 6.5-point favorite against a Badger team that is not very good. They have 2 losses so far. They're not consistent offensively, and that's under a touchdown. I think it all goes to that James Franklin. What do you have on campus? What kind of coach are you actually?
Right.
I won't give him a lot of credit, even if they win and cover this, because I don't think Wisconsin is very good, especially not on offense. But if they lose, it's not going to surprise really anybody. Penn State's just been a team that figures out a way to lose against really good teams and almost always play 1 or 2 of these games they should win easily and play them close. So that's another
the thing with Penn State, sorry to interrupt you, is that they're coming off that bye where they came back and beat USC. If this were immediately the week after USC, it'd probably be a little bit more of a, I don't know, necessarily a trap game, but something that they probably may not be as prepared for. I think that bye week last week may really help them just thump Wisconsin this weekend.
Yeah. So if you don't want to have to guess through these, decipher which of these eliminator games are going to matter and which of them aren't, go to fatjacksports.com. 12-3 last week of the football. $99 get you everything through Monday. Get signed up today and win money this weekend. Plays are emailed to you. They're also come on a personal portal. Everybody's loving the new website. Being able to go in, get the picks when you want. It tells you when you go on the website, you put it on your phone, and then when you have picks, because a big red thing pops up, says you have new plays. So go to fatjacksports.com, check out the site, $99 this weekend, or better yet, prices on hoops packages go up once hoops really get going into November.
November 1st, that thing just skyrockets.
Yeah, so you want to get in before that. This is the weekend. So you want to get something. If you go through the end of November, it's about $100 a week to win. You go through the Super Bowl, it's even less. You go through March Madness or the NBA Finals, you get baseball for free, and it's even less. If you look at those prices now for the plays between March Madness and the NBA Finals, that's really April, May, and half of June. 2.5 months of plays for $200 when you add them now. If you wait until after March Madness, you're going to pay about $600 or $500 for a month of those picks. So $500 for April, $500 for May, part of that for June into the NBA Finals. But if you do it right now, it's $200, gets you all the plays between the end of March Madness and the end of the NBA Finals, including free baseball. Not a better deal, guys. Right now, plan ahead. Treat this more like a business, like an investment. That's those 500 of you who signed up for the 2x2x2 and then missed the 12-3. Now is your chance. Get on board long term, make money over the season, and start building profit. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back. We're going to give you another free winner because I'm getting ready to give you a free winner, and it's Vanderbilt plus the 18 at home against Texas. We didn't discuss that game a lot, but this 25th ranked Vanderbilt team a lot better than the general public understands, even after the things they've done against a couple of teams. So Vanderbilt plus the points, that's your free winner from segment 1. We're going to give you another free winner after the break. We're going to break down some more of these games coming up this weekend, get you signed up to make some money, look at the NFL, and much, much more. You're listening to the Fat Jack Sports Hour.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
This is Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. We are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every week. Get free winners and tips on how to become a better sports bettor. Plus, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected with the Fat Jack Sports Service at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube. Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour, and now here is our host tipping off basketball season, which starts this week. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 2. Getting you ready for the weekend. Yeah, we got basketball. It's now started. The NBA's underway. We're going to make a lot of money in basketball again this year. Go look at the results tab. Look at last week, last year, last 5 or 6 years in football, and then look at the basketball results. You'll see everything is posted. Everything is documented. It will get you into profit. You'll start making money betting on these games at fatjacksports.com. $99 through Monday. Or save even more money when you sign up for a longer package. What was I going to tell you? Oh, I'm back from London, and glad to be back from London, by the way. It's always fun to go, and it's always fun to come back. I did not have any issues on the plane, but I did have a couple issues in New York with the New York people. I've decided New York is it's like the worst version of Las Vegas for me. So I
Oh,
love Vegas. I don't drink
hmm.
and I love to gamble. So I can go to Vegas for a week to 10 days, but New York, after about 48 hours, it's like I'm looking for a fight, which is not good.
Is it just something in the air? Is it the people? Like what
It's
is
the
it?
people, and I spend 2 days being very patient with people. Patience of Job, I would say. Nobody else would say, but I say. Um, and I try to take the high road, and then about 2 days in, if I have a group of 4 people that are walking at me like they're the monkeys from, remember the monkeys back in the day, where they're like sidestepping and connected at the arms and stuff walking down the sidewalk, I basically, it's Red Rover for me.
Yeah.
So I just kind of lower my shoulder, and now I'm banging into a group of 4 because they think they own the entire sidewalk. It's little things like that. The homeless people there, I'm okay with homeless. I understand them, kings and queens, but I don't like them yelling at me necessarily. And I
Hmm.
understand that they need medication, but I really, the first couple of days, I'm like, oh, isn't that sad? The fourth, that's it. What'd you say? That time. And I don't say it to them,
The
but in my,
Midwestern nice wears off.
it does a little bit. So, good news, I'm back in the middle and heading back to Vegas here to do the show. Excited about
What
that.
uh what happened with the in Portugal? Like what with the hot wax massage and all that?
Yeah,
Did that come to fruition?
that's right. Karen actually, I think she goes there to be satisfied, honestly, because because I would not go to the candle wax
No.
thing. I basically drew a line in the sand. So she then decided, okay, well, I don't want to do the candle wax by myself. So she did this hammam thing. It's called hammam, I think.
Okay.
And it's basically the most invasive massage you can ever have. I don't even sure they offer it to guys. But it's basically they scrape all the dead skin off you. People can Google it out there. Try to stay off Pornhub when you're doing it. I don't know that it'd come up on Pornhub, but basically they're scrubbing you and they get all the dead skin cells and all that kind of stuff. But it's very invasive, from what I understand. Like they're scrubbing areas that I probably haven't scrubbed enough. You know what I mean? I mean, that type of stuff. So she ended up going in. She came back very happy, very satisfied with her Portugal massage at the 5-star hotel. And I was still angry and grumpy about something. So it was like it was raining at the time. So it went okay. It went absolutely fine. So fatjacksports.com, $99 weekend special. So let's talk about OU just for a second,
Yes.
because we're here I'm here in Oklahoma right now for the weekend, or for the week, or for 3 days actually. What'd you think about the game? You watch the game at all?
I actually didn't. I
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
knew
it's
what was going to come. Like you were with the Georgia game, the South Carolina, probably the largest bet I've put on a single football game in 5 years. And because I got it +3 when it came out. Not shocked at all by anything that took place. The fact that they fired an offensive coordinator, I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference, but I guess you got to send a message. And now you go to Ole Miss, who could easily hang 50 on most teams. If they get to 20-22, I don't see how Oklahoma can overcome that, regardless of who's calling plays.
When was the last time Oklahoma was a 20-point underdog to anybody? A couple
Oh,
of things, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on the game, but they go back to Jackson Arnold,
Yeah.
which is what I said was going to happen a couple weeks ago, that the freshman had shown nothing. He just was protecting the ball a little bit. Of course, he just decided not to protect the ball. Now he's on the bench. Latrell's gone. Where are we? Here's what I would caution OU fans about. And by the way, Tennessee Volunteer fans, you can relate to this. I've been going on in Knoxville for about 20 years now. And there were a lot of years when you were good, but you weren't as good as the SEC, and so it didn't look like you were that good. And OU is not very good offensively because of a lot of things. And I don't think we should just say they're not very good because they have injuries, and then we brush over that and we move on to other things. They're not good because they have a ton of injuries, and they've mismanaged, in my opinion, they've mismanaged the quarterback situation, and their offensive line is not very good. This team has some problems, especially offensively.
Yep.
But I will tell you, you need to be real careful if you're a Sooner fan out there pulling for the wrong things. You don't have to look any further than the University of Nebraska or, frankly, Tennessee for a long time to see teams. Nebraska is still in the middle of it. A team that has plenty of money, has plenty of tradition, has plenty of fan base, all of the things that you would think you would need to come out of a valley. But because of the way they've handled adversity, they are still, and we're going on 20 years, a long time of adversity. And I wouldn't be as telling people to be as cautious if they had not moved to the SEC. But that's kind of that's what I'm saying. It's not really Nebraska, but it's Tennessee and Nebraska had a baby. If you're in the Big 12, you can just get a little better, have a couple of recruiting classes, not mismanage things, not have the injuries, and win 7 or 8 games. And then your public goes, okay, yeah, I can exhale now. I feel better. When you're in the SEC, and we're seeing this right now with the Sooner team, and you start trading Kansas for South Carolina, and you start trading Iowa State for Ole Miss, this is a slippery slope. And so how you as a fan base you conduct yourself is really going to have something to do, honestly, with how deep this valley is. Is this a 1-year valley? Do you keep giving the money? Do you keep doing the NIL stuff? And I notice I leave out Castiglione because Castiglione, I think, has done nothing but great since he's been there. He's mostly been very good hires. Basketball TBD. We're still trying to figure that out, I guess, at OU. But I think Britt was a great hire. He's a great recruiter. And from that perspective, I think they'll turn around quickly. But when you're playing in the SEC, you can get better off of this year, and you cannot have much better record if you're not careful. So patience, I think, is important. Not freaking out. Remembering, if you don't remember anything about Howard Schnellenberger and John Blake, you might want to go ahead and Google some of that.
Yeah, Google Oklahoma football 1995 to 1998.
Because it can get, you think it gets ugly now? It can get ugly. Everybody out there that's over 40 years old knows it can get ugly. So we'll spend a lot of time on that game. I'm with you. I don't see any way. Oklahoma's been an auto bet under. And by the way, they've gone over a couple of times recently. But it's been because of them giving extra points to the team that have dominated them. So when they were under against Texas, they were over against Auburn and gave up they got a pick 6 and gave up a couple things, had a couple pass plays. But this team, from a point standpoint, just because they fire Seth Littrell doesn't mean that any of the problems that have been occurring, namely the offensive line, is fixed.
Yeah, nothing evaporated just because one guy isn't in the building anymore.
There's not enough reverses in the world, not enough anything in the world. And I don't think they have people standing on the bench that are going to make them so much better if it was just a philosophy thing with players. So under the total in that game is the best play. I don't know how Oklahoma scores 21 points right now. They can't protect anybody and they can't run it.
Yep.
Hard to score when you can't do that. And your defense, it's been game in most games. When they're going to wear down. Kids wear down, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. A team that is playing from behind all the time, and so everybody's staying balanced. It's very difficult to get tackles for loss because everybody's balanced. They're doing the opposite of what you want them to do. So under the total in the Oklahoma-Ole Miss game for sure. Oklahoma State, after looking a little bit better against BYU, BYU's an enigma, Brandon. BYU.
They're a team. Yeah, I can't figure them out week to week. But after seeing how they just keep, like we're talking
they're
about
undefeated.
Alabama,
They're 11th in the country.
They keep having ways of winning games. When they're like bad horror movie villains, they keep finding ways to win. Keep finding ways to stay alive. I personally got a futures ticket on BYU to win the national championship, just because at this point, like you said, they're winning games. They win the Big 12. Hey, we're right there with them.
All they got to do is get in. You won't lose money if they get in. And right now, who's the front runner in the Big 12 if it's not them? I cringe to say Colorado, also toward the top of that list. The expanded playoff have made things so. Anybody thought this was a bad idea? You literally don't know what you're talking about.
We can't be friends if you.
Yeah, honestly, because this just made things so much more interesting, not just from a gambling perspective, but from a wagering perspective. But yeah, those type tickets are worth a flyer because you don't need them to beat Alabama or beat Georgia or Texas. All you need to do is get in the tournament. Baylor 6.5 point favorite over Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 3-4 this year, and Baylor 3-4. A couple of disappointing programs. Your thoughts on that game at all?
I mean, Oklahoma State, They have moments where they look competent, and that BYU, I did not see that BYU performance coming, and the fact that they were in that game late was very surprising. That though is a type of loss I feel like can beat you twice. And Oklahoma State is a program traditionally that has a history of letting things beat them twice. So I don't know how they regroup in time for Baylor, even though Baylor not that good.
Yeah, I almost released BYU. They were on my list of two early in the week. They were one of the ones I circled because that was a tough place to play. The game was at 7. Sharps hit it. It moved to 9.5, and I backed off the game. It's too many points at that point, and the value's gone. So it saved us some money by not releasing them. Oklahoma State, when they go to Baylor, generally speaking, they don't take their offense with them. And that's a problem. 6 of the last 8 OSU games when they go to Baylor have been under the total, and it's primarily been because they have not scored a lot. But Baylor's defense is not very good. They've gone over 4 of their last 5, and as we talked about with their record, it's not because they're winning. They're just giving up a bunch of points. So I think this is a pretty good matchup for Oklahoma State. One thing I see I might get, you're right, they'll lose 2 at times when they shouldn't, but they also – especially when they play inferior opponents the next time, they have a way of being more resilient than most of the market will predict. And I think if you're going to throw in the towel on either one of these programs right now, Baylor or Oklahoma State on the year, it's a favorite to throw in the towel on Baylor. I think Oklahoma State has proven, even though they have some problems, and quarterback they're trying to figure it out, and all the different things going on with them, I do think they're going to show up and be game. So my second free winner is Oklahoma State. On the road to cover the number at Baylor. They're getting 6.5, and that may get up to a touchdown by the time we get to game time. So Oklahoma State plus the points, your free winner number 2. FatJackSports.com, $99, everything through Monday. Basketball is here. College basketball is starting here in a week or so. Breeders' Cup plays are free. Last year we made a truckload of money on the Breeders' Cup. We hit, I think, 5 of the races. We had about 3 trifectas.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody made a lot of money on the Breeders' Cup. We forget about that from you, but that's free money, Brandon.
Yep.
That's nobody's paying for that, unless you don't buy anything else. Then you can go and buy just the Breeders' Cup package. But that's a predicted winner. Trifecta exacta boxes on every single Breeders' Cup race on Saturday, and it's next weekend, right? It's Halloween.
Yeah, it is. It is the November 1st and 2nd. So next Friday, Saturday is
I'm going,
Breeders'
by
Cup.
the way.
Oh God, that is one thing that I really regretted because the Breeders' Cup was at Keeneland a couple years ago and I didn't go, and I still kick myself in the tail. But
yeah, it's in
Santa Anita?
Santa Del Mar. It's in San Diego.
Even better.
Even better.
Yeah, because Santa Anita is fantastic. Yeah, Del Mar is beautiful.
Del Mar is unbelievably pretty. It's in San Diego. They call it where the surf meets the sand or something, where the track meets the finish line meets the surf, something like that.
Or as Ron Burgundy says.
Ron Burgundy, exactly. He'll tell you all about San Diego. But yeah, we have a place that's in Balboa Island, which is in Newport, which is not that far from there.
Yeah,
it's a
short drive.
Yeah, hour and 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to run down there on Saturday. Bet the games on Thursday, Friday in Vegas. Bet the weekend. Go to California. Go to the Breeders' Cup. So look online for some updates there as well. How are we doing on time?
We need to get to a break. And just a reminder for any clients that are out there, or potential clients, those picks will be coming late next week. If you go into your portal and try to look for them Tuesday, they're not going to be there.
Yeah, no, everything has to come out, and I like to let the market settle a little bit before I send that out. You get great value in the Breeders' Cup. I mean, it's easy to win a $1,000 trifecta and $500-$600 exactas, and we'll most likely have 1 or 2 of those. And again, they're free. You don't pay for those when you sign up at FatJackSports.com. You have to be on a package going, obviously, but sign up for at least through November or longer. You're going to get those Breeders' Cup plays for free. But yeah, I like to let the market settle, so I like to be posted. Let the pari-mutuel action come in, let things settle a little bit, and then so they'll go out Thursday night or Friday, most likely, after Halloween. So go do your trick-or-treating, all that kind of stuff, and then Friday, get up by 3 or 4 in the afternoon. You'll have the Breeders' Cup stuff, which are all for Saturday. So go to FatJackSports.com. Most importantly, get dialed in. You missed a 12-3 last week if you're not dialed in. 11-5, 12-3 the last 2 weeks. We are rolling. And if you signed up in September and then didn't sign back up, shame on you. That's a losing way to gamble on sports. Go get back in the game right now and start winning. All right,
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And for the final time this week, here is our host, handing out winners like trick-or-treaters. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 3, getting you ready for Halloween. Where's Halloween, Brandon? If you are a party, I was talking to my daughter about this. If you were going to party for Halloween and you like to do it multiple days, which are what the kids do, or frankly, this TV show that I'm doing, is Halloween this coming weekend, the week before, or is it after, or do you just get one day because it's on a Thursday? It's really an inconvenient day if you're a person who loves to lean into Halloween.
I am of the belief that you celebrate the holiday on the holiday. So, like, I went home to Oklahoma a couple years ago, and they actually did Christmas services on a Sunday or on a Saturday, even though Christmas was on a Tuesday. Like, what are we doing? Celebrate the holiday on the holiday. Now, if you want extra, sure. Yeah, have a Halloween party Saturday night, but you better have your light on for trick-or-treaters come Halloween.
So my question is it the Saturday night before Halloween or the Saturday night after Halloween? That's what makes this one
before.
tricky.
It's always before, because
right?
once you get into the like, once November hits, for 96% of people, it's Christmas season.
I agree. And that is what I told her. I said, listen, nobody's celebrating Halloween after Halloween. Nope. We're all regretting how much cupcake or how much candy we ate, and we're moving on to Thanksgiving.
Yep.
That problem is this is a Thursday, so they're the same way. They want to celebrate on Thursday, but you can't win. These people have jobs. You can't win Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday it if you're a 3-person deal. So they're having trouble figuring out when exactly everybody's going to celebrate Halloween. I'm going to celebrate it on Thursday like everybody else because I'm with you. Let's celebrate it on the day if we possibly can. Big traps this weekend, Brandon.
Yep.
The Packers only given 5 to Jacksonville. Who's playing Jacksonville? How is that thing not the most one-sided game of the entire weekend?
And especially of a team coming off a London trip.
Yeah,
even though they've done it multiple times, that makes zero sense.
So many problems, and Jacksonville's not any good. Nobody's going to give them a lot of credit for beating New England. I mean, New England's not any good. And
how are the Jets a 7.5-point favorite?
Yeah, there's a bunch of these games. You get this time of year where you have a bunch of these teams that you can't see. How about the Cowboys only 5.5-point underdog at San Francisco? I understand San Francisco's had some issues, but the Cowboys are an issue. Their entire team's an issue. I mean, this team is getting blown out at home. So how are they covering 5.5? Listen, there's going to be either the books, and by the way, the books lost again last week on Sunday. That's 2 in a row. Where 2 weeks ago was one of the worst Sundays they've had in a long, long time. And this last week, the most high percentage bet games, Philadelphia, Washington, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Indiana, and Kansas City, all won. Those were the highest bet games. The only one that lost, that outlier, was Atlanta. So they lost last Sunday for sure. Now they're firing out some of these lines. How do they not have 98% of the money on both San Francisco and certainly against Jacksonville? I mean, I just think this is a really dangerous spot for a lot because these lines look really, really easy. But as we know, Vegas is not in the business of just giving money away. So that's why you go to fatjacksports.com for $99 and get signed up and start winning today. You got a play of the day in the NFL before we get out of here?
Buffalo going to Seattle. I feel like Seattle has been very Jekyll and Hyde. The fact that they played as well as they did last week, now they get Buffalo who can run the football on them. That's going to be a problem because I feel like they are not that great against the run. It would shock me if Josh Allen passed the ball 20 times. Buffalo -3 on the road. I mean, to me, that seems like one of the easier games, just aside from the ones that you mentioned. And the other one, perhaps the Lions, even though double-digit dogs or double-digit favorites in the NFL generally, put up some interesting numbers. But yeah, Buffalo for me is the one that sticks out.
5.5-point dogs that had been doing so well. They're actually still 21-12-2 against the spread on the year, but they were 1-4 last week. That's 2 losing weeks in a row. You talk about Buffalo, we're getting ready to get out of here, but I keep going back to them at Baltimore and how bad they looked there. They lost 35-10 at Baltimore, and Baltimore believe it or not, in Seattle are similar,
Yeah.
in what they do. And both of these are on the road, and that is not just a road trip. That is the road trip for Buffalo, of course, going cross country. So
Right.
a lot of different things to get to. We're going to have all of that, $99 to get you all of our plays all the way through Monday. Get signed up. Add basketball now. Go through next month. It's about $100 a week. Don't drink and drive. Wager responsibly. Enjoy your time. If you're a client of mine, you certainly are. We're going to have another great week coming off that 12-3. Have a great week. Until next time, it's been Brandon and the Fat Jack for the Fat Jack Sports Hour.